Donald Trump reacting when asked whether or not he would pay heed to reported calls to have Gulf states get him to help de-escalate. He said of the Iranians, quote, "They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning. They should talk immediately before it's too late." For more, let's cross to Washington, D.C. Hussein Ibish is with the Gulf States Institute. Thank you for being with us here on France 24.
Anytime. Thank you.
From the sound of what Donald Trump said, he's not getting involved for the time being.
Well, I think that's the impression he wants to give everybody, is that he has not given Israel a red light nor a green light. He's practicing what the Americans call constructive ambiguity. So he wants to let the Israelis say to each other and themselves, oh, he's got our back, it's okay, the Americans are behind us. But he wants to give the Iranians the opportunity to say to themselves and others, no, he's not involved. We could go back to the negotiations with him. We don't have to target Americans or any American interests. They're not involved. So there's a lot of this ambivalence and ambiguity going on in the American position.
And for the time being, the Iranians leaving the door open. We've seen in past cases, they've targeted U.S. interests in places like neighboring Iraq. Not so this time.
Yeah. Yes, and they have allies like the Popular Mobilization Front groups in Iraq who could do it. The Houthi in Yemen could do it. Even Hezbollah, remnants of Hezbollah in Lebanon, they still have some missiles. They could do it. There are, and of course they could do it themselves. So there are plenty of American targets and also American-related Gulf Arab targets in the UAE and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Kuwait. So, you know, there's no shortage of things the Iranians and their allies could do if they wanted to. And so they're clearly holding back. And they're holding back because, first, they don't want more firepower aimed at them. They definitely don't need more enemies at this point. But in addition to that, you know, I think they do want to keep the door open to potentially going back to negotiations on the nuclear front with the United States. They haven't ruled that out. And I'm not sure that anyone is in full control of what's going to happen here. And so, you know, Trump may be confident he's going to get in a better position. And Netanyahu may be confident he can get the Americans into this war on his side. And the Iranians may be confident they'll be okay and they'll be able to go back to things as they were before the war with Israel began. And none of them can really be sure what's going to happen.
None of them can be really sure. The idea for the Israelis is, especially if you want to hit this Foro underground nuclear site, is they need those bunker buster bombs that the Americans have. Do you see the United States finishing what the Israelis started?
Not under the current circumstances, no. I think Trump is not inclined to get involved in this war. I think he was inclined to give the Israelis an amber light, you know, not a red light, not a green light, but kind of an amber light, to say, oh, you want to attack Iran? I don't really agree with that, but, you know, see what you can do. Let's see what happens. At the same time, I think he's reserving the right to say no at any moment that he doesn't approve, and that from his perspective, Israel should stop it, which doesn't mean the Israelis would, but it does mean they would be risking things. And yeah, I think he's not at all inclined to get involved in the conflict under current circumstances. Now, if the United States gets hit by Iran or by Iranian proxies, that'll be a story. And also, if he calculates that it's necessary politically for the U.S. to get involved, to finish Israel's job for it, to do thus and such different military things, he will. But right now, that's not where he is. He is not inclined to get involved. Netanyahu's, I think, one of his primary goals at the moment is to get the United States involved, right? He really does want that. And, you know, he's going to need that to get one of the outcomes he's looking for. I think the Israelis went into this without a clear end goal in mind, because they can't finish the job they've started, and it's not clear the Americans will.
Right. And on that point, you have Benjamin Netanyahu saying the Israeli Air Force controls the skies of Tehran, while Iranian state media, meanwhile, reports that Iran's preparing for, quote, the largest and most intense missile attack in history on Israeli soil. Which side to believe?
Oh, both, I think. The Iranians really don't have good air defenses, and they don't have an air force. So Israel does control the skies of Tehran. That's a fact. As for the missile barrage that Iran may be preparing, yeah, they have been firing up to 200 missiles a day. A lot of them get through, as we've seen. The era of a thoroughgoing missile defense anywhere in the world is not upon us. Missiles get through. Missile barrages are effective everywhere, anywhere. There is no anti-missile defense system that really works. Certainly, the Arrow system in Israel doesn't work. It doesn't matter if there are Patriots attached or anything else attached. Ultimately, missiles go through. And Iran is probably preparing the biggest barrage of missiles ever aimed at Israel over the next few days. And the Israelis are preparing to hit Iran as Iran has never been hit before. And both of them can be true simultaneously. And I think they probably are true simultaneously.
And as we speak, Israel's military stating that it's identified missiles launched from Iran towards Israel. Hussein Ibish, one final question for you. Donald Trump is the one who can pick up the phone and put an end to all of this by calling Israel. And yet, again, in the presence of Mark Carney, regretted the absence of Russia. This a day after he suggested it might be a good idea for Moscow to mediate something that's anathema to the rest of the G7. Why talk about Russia so much?
Yeah, no idea. I mean, no one has yet explained his fixation on Russia and Putin. It's an open question. Whether it's just a neurotic fixation, an idée fixe on his part, or whether there's some leverage that Putin or Russia has over him to make him come back to this apparently sycophantic fixation on Russia, I don't know. Nobody knows. There's never been a good explanation. It's irrational to bring up Russia in this context. It means nothing. It's bizarre, but again, it's part of his fixation on Russia. And what can we say?
Hussein Ibish, many thanks for joining us from Washington.
Thank you, François.